Goldminded Records, they're not your friends.
What up, this is Klive Kraven. It's been a while since I've done one of these videos, but I'm back. Gonna start doing these horror videos again. Top 10 countdowns, overviews, reviews, updates, all that good shit. I've been working on my collection, been adding a lot of different stuff, been trying to get my officialness put together. I finally got better lighting. Lighting was an issue from the first couple episodes of my show, so I decided to go ahead and reconfigure things, get the lighting and the camera angles a little bit better, and just get things a little more professional. So, been working on that, but in the meantime, I've also been working on a few different lists. I put together a top 10 list. It's actually my top 10 favorite horror films of all time. They're pretty much just the ones that I had in my collection, not to say that they aren't, considered in my top 10, but there might have been a few other ones I might have changed out had I had them, had physicals of them, but I only wanted to include things that I actually had physicals of. So out of the physicals that I actually have, this is my top 10 horror movies of all time. And we're going to go ahead and take it back to the first one, number 10. Classic film, grew up on this, love this movie. Sam Raimi, I mean, there's a ton I could say about it, but I'll let the cover art speak for itself. Army of Darkness, this is a classic. I know a lot of people say, why not Evil Dead or Evil Dead 2, but to me, this one was always the standout, honestly. I know a lot of people are probably not going to agree with that, but this one for me was the pinnacle. Really enjoyed this one. The first two Evil Deads are great, but this one, just something I've always liked about it, and I just always enjoyed this film. Seen it growing up a million times as a kid. Great film, Army of Darkness, number 10. Number 9, another one of my favorites. Great film, John Carpenter film, classic. This is probably in a lot of people's top 10s. Very well-known film. Not a lot to say about this other than a great slasher, especially for its era. This film opened up a lot of doors for the 80s, for a lot of films that came after it, i.e. The Burning, Prowler, tons of other great slashers that came after this. This kind of birthed that genre again, or at least gave birth back to it. But yeah, Halloween, great film, number 9. Number 8, another one of my personal favorites from one of my personal favorite horror writers, Clive Barker. Guy's amazing. Just really gruesome, really vile storylines. Always dug what he had to bring to the screen, and this is no exception, Hellraiser. This is the original Hellraiser. I do like some of the other ones, but this is definitely the standout. Number 1, the original Hellraiser. Can't go wrong with this. Clive Barker, great film. That is my number 8. Number 7, another classic, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Tobe Hooper film. Phenomenal. The behind the scenes on this is really interesting. If you ever get a chance to watch the documentaries, I actually have a documentary about the original. It's from the 80s. It's really low budget, and it's kind of grainy and a bit hard to watch because it is so like 80s style. It's real VHS quality, but really cool information in it. It's a bit boring, but there is a lot of cool information in it about this original film and about how it was filming this, and the behind the scenes of it, and what they went through to film this is just pretty crazy when you really look at the film itself. A lot of these scenes were filmed in Texas in the middle of summer in a house that smelled like rotting shit. So the fact that they put up with this for as long as they did is just amazing. Great film. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That is my number 7. Number 6, another one of my favorites, Don Coscarelli film. Phenomenal. Phantasm. This is a great movie. This is my favorite probably out of the 4. There is 4, and from what I hear, they're working on a part 5, which I would love to see a 5th one. Love the character, love the tall man, love the morgue, love the little midgets, the little dwarfs. The whole concept of this movie is just great. The film is awesome. Highly recommended. Great Don Coscarelli film, Phantasm. Number 5 is kind of a mix. It's Friday the 13th. I include the whole box set because there's actually 3 that I kind of rate right next to each other. That's part 3, 4, and 7. Those are probably my 3 favorite out of the whole franchise. Obviously the first 2 are great, but 3 I like because it's the first time we get to see Jason with the mask. It's You know, the first one to me that's really a true Friday the 13th film, I guess you could say. Part 4 was great just because the kills, and it was the first time that Jason really had a true nemesis and someone to go against. Little Corey Feldman when he, you know, puts the machete through his head, so that was really cool. Part 7, the first appearance of Kane Hodder. Really cool to see him play Hodder, you know, with the heavy breathing and just all the little things that he brought to the film and brought to the character. Part 7 for me was great. So Friday the 13th, those 3 films, they stand together as my number 5. Number 4, this is a classic George Romero film. Definitely one of my favorites. Probably my favorite Romero film. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that too, because I know a lot of people are huge Dawn of the Dead fans and the original Night of the Living Dead, but for me, Day of the Dead. The original, not the remake, the original Day of the Dead, George Romero, phenomenal film. You know, Tom Savini's art, you know, makeup effects and art that he did in this is phenomenal. I mean, it's second to none. You know, Savini just brought this so much to life with the effects and the gore in it that it was just phenomenal. Great storyline, great movie. This is definitely one of my tops. Day of the Dead, classic movie, must watch. Gotta see this. That's my number 4. Number 3 is gonna be Nightmare on Elm Street. Wes Craven film, obviously. Fantastic movies. You know, for the horror genre, great slasher flicks, something new. But out of all of these, I would have to say that my favorites is definitely part 1, 3, and 6. Those are the ones that stand out the most to me, but I am huge fans of these. These are awesome, great films. Nightmare on Elm Street, that is in my tops. That is number 3 for me. 2 is an anthology film, collaboration of George Romero and Stephen King. There's 3 of these films. I'm only a real big fan of the first 2, but you probably already know what this is, Creepshow. Creepshow is phenomenal. Grew up on this as a kid. Love this film. Love the whole idea of having the little stories. Seeing Leslie Nielsen play a bad guy and have fucking Ted Danson come back as a, you know, a zombie from the water. Just so cool. The Father's Day story, the music in this. I mean, everything about this movie is just phenomenal. It is really, really quality. And then that brings me to the top of the list. My number 1, my favorite movie of all time, my favorite horror movie of all time. It is a real 80s classic. This is Return of the Living Dead. This movie just, it has everything for me. You've got zombies in this, you've got comedy, you've got a great storyline, you've got fantastic artwork and movie makeup effects, you've got great soundtrack, and just a really, really cool time. You know, that this takes place in the mid-80s, you know, and for me, this was always growing up a pinnacle of a horror movie. I bootlegged this shit on VHS from HBO or Cinemax when I was like fucking 8 years old. This has always been a classic to me. So, The Return of the Living Dead is my number 1 greatest horror movie of all time. You don't have to agree with it, but for me, this is fucking pinnacle right here. This is the tops. So that is my official top 10 horror movies of all time. I'll be back with more reviews, updates, overviews, and just general videos talking about horror movies. So make sure you tune in, subscribe, check out my channel, check out my other videos, check out my music, and I will see you guys here next.